safety feature. We'll talk about that and more fun screwdriver facts while I sketch this little tool. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on is it Tuesday? It feels like it ought to be Wednesday. It's Tuesday morning though, I think. On Tuesday mornings, I like to do a little thing where I pick a toy out of the toy box, a random object out of the Random Object Randomogrifier, if you will, and I draw it and we talk about it. And today's random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier is a Phillips head screwdriver. We call it a Phillips head screwdriver because Henry Phillips is the man that took it to market, took this design, the specific design to market. He bought the patent from John Thompson. John Thompson was a line worker in a company, came up with the idea of being able to add more torque to the screwdriver, to the slotted screwdriver, by adding a second cruciform slot. But nobody would pay attention to John Thompson because John Thompson was a laborer. He was not an educated man able to go talk to investors. And so he approached businessman Henry Phillips, and Henry Phillips saw the potential and bought the patent from him. I did not write down how much he bought the patent for, but it was a pittance. I do know that it was a pittance because the Phillips screwdriver became the standard that everybody knows it as, and John Thompson's name is a footnote in history because of it. I think the only two people in the world who probably really just knew that would be me and Gaming with Just Joe. Joe, because Joe did a presentation on it in high school, or in elementary school. Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Rick. We got Rick French in the chat. Good morning, sir. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, John Thompson's just a footnote in history, where Phillips is a household name because of the Phillips screwdriver. I don't think it's the same Phillips. I could be wrong. But I don't think it's the same Phillips as the Phillips Energy Company. Phillips Petroleum. Pretty sure it's not, as a matter of fact. But it didn't hurt. It certainly didn't hurt his marketing that the Phillips Energy Company, Phillips Petroleum, shared his name. But I don't think they're related. All right. One of the things I'm worried about with this project this morning is how simple it is. I'm worried that I'm going to be able to knock it out in about 5 minutes and we won't have anything to talk about. The information, though, it's a pretty sordid history. At the time of its at the time of its concept, assembly line workers were having hand injuries and equipment damage due to what they call camming out, which is when the slotted screwdriver would slip out of the slot. That has an official name called camming out. And a lot of times you're holding the screw and the screwdriver cams out and you go right into your hand. And so a lot of assembly workers were having injuries due to it camming out. So in the early industrial age, the manufacturing companies were always looking for a better way to prevent injuries, not because they cared about the employees, but because it slowed down production. Let's not pretend that Henry Ford or the president of GM at the time, I'm not going to say they didn't care about the employees, but let's not pretend that they were making decisions based on the well-being of their employees. They were making decisions based on time loss on the job.
Rick says you can always talk about how many of them you've lost and thrown around.
Yeah, oh yeah. I can't tell you how many screwdrivers I've lost or thrown around. Screwdrivers, wrenches, you name it. But Henry Phillips bought the patent from Henry Thompson and went around to all of the major manufacturers looking for somebody willing to tool up to make them and looking for somebody willing to replace all of their screws with them. At the same time, a fellow by the name of Peter Robertson developed a square socket screw set in Canada, and Henry Ford loved that because it didn't cam out, it didn't have those problems, it could be tooled up easily. But Henry Ford wanted exclusive rights to it. He didn't want anybody else to be able to use it. And Robertson said no, it was his patent, and he would sell it to whomever he wanted to. He wanted to keep control of it, and because of that, Henry Ford went with the slotted screwdriver instead of the square socket screwdriver. And the rest is, as they say, history. Henry Ford's production line was copied by practically all auto industry workers and spread that screw to everybody. Especially right as World War II is breaking out. Because now all the auto workers were turning towards making military equipment and using Phillips head screwdrivers in the military equipment. Not just in the US, all around the world. All of the major automobile manufacturers and all of the major military equipment manufacturers did the exact same thing. They tooled up to make war equipment and introduced the Phillips head screwdriver and the Phillips head screw to all of the Allies. And so all the soldiers came home used to the Phillips screwdriver, not having to struggle with the Phillips screwdriver like they do with a flathead screwdriver. And so they all wanted them on their toolboxes as well. And so then that is why the Phillips head screwdriver became the the screw of choice around the world. Good morning, Pamela. This is my favorite part of the process. This is the part of the process that turns it into a dimensional object instead of just a couple of lines on the page. I absolutely love this part of the process. And we're at this part of the process. I guess, you know what, we're not really all that early. We're right on time of where we're supposed to be. We've just been dragging our feet lately on some other drawings, like every day's Saturday, and every day is not apple fritter day. Can't talk. Farting. Alright. So what's interesting about the patent, when they first wrote the marketing description, not the patent, but the marketing description, when they first wrote the marketing description, it said it marketed as something that wouldn't cam out like the normal slotted screwdriver. Again, remember, the camming out is when it slips out of socket and slides out and hits your hand or your equipment. And it advertised as something that wouldn't cam out. But 2 years later, the marketing changed to something that would cam out, and they treated it as a feature and not a bug. And the argument was, when you're tooling up with automatic equipment, the automatic equipment can't tell if it's screwed in all the way. And so when the screw strips out, it says it's designed to strip out rather than damage the car or your hand, the equipment or your employee. So initially the argument was it wouldn't cam out like a regular slotted screwdriver would, but it does cam out like a regular slotted screwdriver, and so they changed it to say instead that that's a feature, not a bug. My mom and I are having troubles communicating this morning. My phone has been messing up on me, but she's directed me to Pamela's chat here, and Pamela says she's moving slowly this morning and almost screwed up. Good thing we had the tool that she needed. That's cute. Let me dry this real quick so we can get some color on it. Today's object is just pretty simple to draw. Now, this was not the first This was not the first screwdriver with the cruciform type. The first known screwdriver, cruciform means like it was a cross tip. The first known screwdriver with the cruciform tip was John Frierson, and he had two patents. He had two patents that were almost 70 years older than the modern Phillips screwdriver patent. And his version of it didn't cam out. It was about a 75-degree pitch to prevent it from camming out. But his version of it required a different tool for every size screwdriver. You couldn't use the same screwdriver for multiple sizes. You had to have a different screwdriver for practically every size screw. And so it didn't really catch on except in the boating industry. Wooden boat makers loved the Frierson design because it doesn't cam out and it lets them torque the screws nice and tight into the wood on the boats, which caused problems in the 40s and 50s because the Phillips Screw Company was clamping down on everybody making any kind of slotted screw as a patent violation, and they were suing everybody, and they got turned around and got dragged into federal court for a monopoly, for antitrust, for buying up all of the competition and forcing everybody to use their prices and their products, and having a monopoly on the screw industry. And their monopoly got broken up, but it didn't really matter because by '66 their patent had run out. So while they were busy fighting it, their patent ran out anyway. People were arguing that they were not copying the Phillips screwdriver model, they were copying the Frierson model. But whether they were or not didn't matter. It didn't stop the Phillips company from suing them. So that's what caused the big monopoly antitrust lawsuit. Let me dry this real quick and then we can ink it. We're really early today. Last year, at this time, the company I was working for had meetings on Tuesdays, and this would have been a perfect drawing for that, because on Tuesdays I always had to leave kind of early so that I could be there for the meeting. This would have been a perfect drawing for one of those days. The company I work for today, I don't go to any meetings. And I am happy about that. So last year, it would have been nice to have one of these on a Tuesday like this. This year, kind of sad it's going so fast. These things come in all different sizes now. There's 8 standard sizes, everything from the very tiny little watch screw sets to the big industrial size screw set. PH double aught to PH4 are the official sizes. There's sizes in between there. The PH2 is the common household size. If you're ever looking for a screwdriver and you want to sound like you know what you're talking about at the Home Depot, go in and ask for a PH2. They will send you over to the water quality department first, because they probably don't know what you're talking about. But having the wrong size screwdriver is the number one reason for them to strip the head and strip the screw. Is by not having the right size. But if you have a PH2, you most likely have the one that will fit everything you need around the household, except for your watch and your glasses. What is today? Today is the 2nd of June. Robert Peterson model that they made in Canada, when the car companies tooled up in Canada, they went with that model. So for a while at least, the dominant type in Canada was the square cam, not the cruciform cam. And so for a while at least, the Canadians used a different standard than what we used here in the United States. But it didn't catch on. I mean, it's still around. The modern deck screws use a combination of a cruciform down deep, and then it's got the square slot at the top, and your tools work with it. It's pretty cool. They've decided to combine the two for safety. And they've decided that the new smart tool can tell that it's going to strip out and it backs off. So that is one benefit of modern technology. Okay, so there's my screwdriver compared to the photograph. Let's see it based on my perspective. There it is from my perspective. So that's what I did this morning. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow. Oh, the suspense. What could it be? Oh, it's another damn drawing is what it is. Specifically the Hoover Dam. What are you laughing at? Welcome to the Hoover Dam. I'll be your damn guide. This is what we're drawing tomorrow morning is the Hoover Dam. Now the name went back and forth between Hoover Dam and Boulder Dam for a while, but it was officially declared to be the Hoover Dam. So that's what we're gonna call it. So tomorrow morning we'll talk about how its name went back and forth because it was named after one president, and then the next president got elected and said no, we're not going to call it that. And we'll talk about the environmental impact of the Hoover Dam, how it basically destroyed the farmland in Mexicali, Mexico, in the Mexicali Valley of Mexico. We'll talk about all that and more fun dam facts tomorrow morning while we sketch this little dam at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So you may want to set your notification bell so you don't miss that. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. This is my favorite time of the day when I get to art with my besties. And I run down the stairs when I get to do it. Pamela, Rick, thank you so much for joining me. Mom and Dad, Mom, as always, thank you for helping me. Like I said, I really do enjoy this very much. It's a highlight of my day when I get to art with my besties. It holds me accountable to my art practice, and it's often the only art I get to do. I hope that you art along with me. So be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody sees me dancing. My back is feeling a whole lot better. The point of this, though, is that I can make sure that the lag is caught up with the stream before I turn it off. And I won't be cut off mid-sentence. Everybody gets a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other. You can click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal, or this way if you're on the vertical, and you can watch another fantastic video just like this one. But the most important thing is that